You are listening to the Fly the W670 podcast, episode 69 of season number 3. Still no sweep for the Cubs. Don't forget to listen, download, review, most importantly, subscribe to the podcast, follow on all the socials. Fly the W670, Twitter, Instagram. Of course, we're on Facebook. Email Crawly and I, flythew670@gmail.com. Well, Crawly, it was a heck of a weekend. The weather's been unbelievable. Got to get out in the sun, get out in the water, and the Cubs were down in Miami, and they kind of took care of business, but again, as the title said, still no sweep for the Cubs.
Yeah, here's the problem, Dustin, and this is we're going to come back and when this season's over, and we're going to take a look and say this season was decided by 2 months, May and June, and they were just so bad in 2 months that they just dug themselves a hole they couldn't get out of. It's great. The Cubs keep winning series after series after series, but they can't put a sustained winning streak together. And every day that you pass on by is another day that's off the calendar. And unfortunately, this was there for the taking. Once again, you had the first 2 games. It looked all set up for you to take the third and fell short.
Yeah, time is not on the Cubs side. There is no doubt about that. So let's get into it. Let's talk about game number 1. We'll go back a little bit to Friday night. Kyle Hendricks, after they skipped him a couple times, took the ball for the Cubs.
Yep, Marlins would be the first to get on the board in the second inning. Connor Norby, we warned you about him. He was a swinging a hot bat, and he did it all weekend long. He would advance to third on a Kyle Stowers ground out and score on a Derek Hill ground out to put the Fish up 1-0. But Dustin, that lead would not last long as PCA led off the third inning with an inside the park home run to tie the game at 1. So the ball is slicing away from right fielder Jesus Sanchez. And once it got past him, his body weight is taking him towards the right field foul pole. It careened left. And then PCA, you just saw him right when he saw that turn on the Jets round him first. His helmet comes flying off. He makes it around the bases with the fastest home-to-home time of the year at 14.08 seconds. That is the fastest since Byron Buxton ran around the bases in 13.85 seconds on his own inside the park home run on August 18th, 2017. So, Dustin, that was just such an electric play. I was at a bar with friends. We were watching, and everybody's just fired up. If you look here, inside the park home run since 2016, PCA did it on Friday. Before that, I was at this game, Dustin. The only inside the park home run I've ever seen in person, Seiya Suzuki. I saw it in Milwaukee. July 4th, 2022. He just came off the IL list. The poor guy was gassed by the time Willie Harris sent him. But yep, that was the only inside the park homer I've ever seen. Javi Baez did one in 2017, August 7th. And Anthony Rizzo, June 29th, 2016. Haven't had time to go back. I want to see Anthony Rizzo get the triple. But what a difference PCA is making for this team.
What an August he has had, right? What an August.
Chris Kamka put this up on Twitter. First 66 games for PCA, 11 extra base hits, 51 strikeouts. In his last 24 games, 10 extra base hits and only 10 strikeouts. It's just clicking for him,
Yeah, all things are clicking for him, and hopefully it will continue for the next couple of weeks. There are still meaningful games to be played, despite the fact that they didn't sweep this series. But let's keep going with this game.
Well, after the inside the park home run, Miguel Amaya singled, and then Ian Happ decided to go for the old-fashioned home run. The veteran knows better than to have to run that quick right to left center to give the Cubs their first lead of the game, 3-1. The Marlins answered right back in the bottom of the inning with 1 out. Vidal Brujan singled. Jake Berger flied out for the second out, but Hendricks walked Jesus Sanchez, and Jonah Bride singled to score Brujan to cut the score to 3-2. Now, the bottom of the fifth, Dustin, we've talked about this, is when Kyle usually hits that wall at this point in his career. Yep. He led off the inning walking Vidal Brujan, but Miguel Amaya threw him out at second when Brujan was going for that steal. So good job, Miguel Amaya. But then Jake Berger singled. Jesus Sanchez flied out for the second out, but Jonah Bride doubled the left to put runners at second and third. Kyle's night is done. He went 4 2/3 inning. He gave up 3 runs on 7 hits, 2 walks, and no strikeouts, which is what we've expected from him lately.
Yeah, it's not a terrible. It's fine. What he did was fine, right? It's fine.
It was okay. First out of the pen was Tyson Miller, who usually is called on to put out these type of fires, right? You got the whatchamacallit, second and third, 2 outs. but unfortunately he struggled with command. He walked the first batter. He faced Connor Norby, which honestly, the way Norby was hitting wasn't that bad of an idea. But then he got the next batter. He walked the next batter to tie the game at 3 before getting Derek Hill to line out to second on a spectacular leaping grab by Nico Horner. But, walking two guys and walking in the tying run, not great. But Tyson Miller's been fantastic for the Cubs this season so far. Takes us to the top of the 8th. Seiya Suzuki singled, advanced to second on an error on a pickoff attempt, and made it to third on a Cody Bellinger ground out. So with 1 out, a struggling Isaac Paredes comes up to bat. He doubles to left to score Seiya. Cubs retake the lead 4-3. They're not done yet. Looking for some insurance, PCA led off the 9th inning with a single, and then Miguel Amaya hit a home run, his second in as many days, to give the Cubs a 6-3 lead and a little bit of breathing room. Jorge Lopez came in to close it out. No drama. Cubs take the opener. And, again, how much fun. Okay, you got Miggy Amaya hitting a home run. You got PCA inside the park home run. You got all sorts of fun things going on. But it masked the runner in scoring position issue, right? They scored 6 runs on 10 hits, but were 1 for 11 with runners in scoring position and left 7 men on base. So they were able to slug their way through that game with Happ's home run, and you had the inside the park home run and the Amaya home run. So you're able to do that, right? You got 5 runs on 3 homers. But again, the runners in scoring position didn't hurt them Friday, but it's going to come back to bite them on Sunday. The bullpen continues to be a source of strength for the Cubs. They only gave up 1 run on 1 hit in 4 1/3 innings, and that was on 2 walks by, but we talked about Tyson Miller. So all in all, a good game, but that runners in scoring position, like I said, just continues to bite them.
Yeah, absolutely right. So the Cubs won that first game, so that was good news. Then Saturday mid-afternoon, game number 2, Shota Imanaga on the mound for our Cubbies.
If you remember when we were doing predictions last time, I was like, man, there's a couple rookies that you're going to be facing. Max Meyer was a really young guy, not a lot of experience. Valiente Belloso, he's a true rookie. And then you had Adam Oler at the last game, who's a journeyman. And I'm like, one of these guys I feel is like going to get the Cubs. And I thought it was going to be Valiente Belloso, but nope. Nothing to worry about on game 2. The Cubs, first inning, Seiya Suzuki hits his 17th homer to put the Cubs up 1-0. In the 3rd inning, Seiya hits his 18th home run. Michael Busch along for the ride. So the score after 3 innings, Seiya Suzuki 3, Marlins nothing. Bottom of the 4th, here's that name again, Connor Norby. He homers off Shota to put the fish on the board and make it a 3-1 game. The Cubs would get that back in the 5th and more. 1 out, Nico Horner doubles. Dansby reaches on a fielder's choice. Nico's out at 3rd. But then PCA crushes a home run 430 feet into the top deck of the stadium. So a lot easier when you don't have to sprint around those bases in less than 15 seconds. Cubs are up 5-1. Miguel Amaya follows that up with a single. Ian Happ walks, runners at 1st and 2nd for Michael Busch. He hits a dribbler along the 3rd base side. The pitcher, John McMillan, knows he has no shot to get Busch out at 1st. So he's going to try to flip it to 3rd. He really didn't even look and try to get the lead runner. The ball gets past the 3rd baseman, who was also charging in on that weak grounder. The ball gets into the outfield. Left fielder is nowhere near the play. 2-run score, and the Cubs now lead 7-1 on the air. Bottom of the 5th, Shota gives up his 2nd home run of the day. A solo homer to David Hensley, and the Cubs lead is cut to 7-2. We've talked about the long ball being an issue for Shota. Those were the only 2 mistakes he made, though. They were both solo home runs. He went 7 innings, gave up 2 runs on 4 hits, 2 walks, and 3 Ks, and became the first Cubs pitcher this year to get his 10th win. So, good game by Shota, I would say.
Yeah, that was an excellent performance overall. Seemed like at times he was, pushing a little harder than maybe would like, but yeah, it was good. It was good overall.
Now the Cubs were not done on offense. So top of the 7th, Miguel Amaya singles. He reaches 2nd on a wild pitch, moves to 3rd on an Ian Happ ground out. With 2 outs, Michael Busch will double to make it 8-2. Seiya follows that up with a triple, and Cody Bellinger hits a double to drive Seiya in, and the Cubs lead 10-2. Cubs offense still not done. Top of the 8th, Mike Tauchman singles, reaches 2nd on a wild pitch. Patrick Wisdom draws a walk. PCA hits a ground rule double to score Tauchman. Luis Vasquez is brought into the game. He gets hit by a pitch. Welcome back to the Bigs, kid. And with the bases loaded, Michael Busch draws a walk. The Cubs take a 12-2 lead. Cubs offense still not done. Top of the ninth, Mike Tauchman single, and Patrick Wisdom hits his 7th home run. Cubs are up 14-2, and that is how the game ends. And what a night for the offense. Season high, 14 runs on a season high tying 17 hits. The Cubs tallied a season high 10 extra base hits, including Seiya Suzuki's 3rd career multi-homer effort. Amaya and Bush each recorded 3 hits in the victory. So as we talked about a little bit here, we got some history here. How about this one? Seiya and Shota. This is from OptaStats. The Cubs are the first team in MLB history to have one Japanese-born player notch 3 extra base hits, Seiya Suzuki, and another Japanese-born player earn the win, Shota Imanaga, in the same game. I mean, Dustin, they were crushing the ball. These were some of the home run distances coming in there. You had Patrick Wisdom in the 9th hitting one 390 feet, Seiya Suzuki in the 1st 412 feet, PCA 437 in the 5th inning, and in the 3rd, Seiya Suzuki hit one 446 feet for a total of 1,690 feet worth of home runs. And, you know, this is always one that kind of gets you here. Seiya Suzuki, according to StatHead, today marks the 14th time that a Cubs player got 2 home runs and a triple in a game, like Seiya did. The others, Kyle Schwarber, Chris Bryant, you remember Todd Walker, Sean Dunston, Andre Dawson, Leon Durham, Billy Williams did it twice, Lou Brock, Walt Moose Morin, Hank Sauer, the 52 MVP for the Cubs, Bill Nicholson, and Heine Zimmerman. So a mix of new guys and old guys on that one.
Yeah, mix of old and new, like you said. All right, so Cubs were in a position to sweep. That brings us to Sunday afternoon. Javier Assad on the mound, and it didn't get off to a very good start.
No, not on the offense, not on the defense. Again, the Cubs are taking on journeyman Adam Oler, who's been with 7 or 8 different organizations. Ian Happ starts off the game with a leadoff double, and you're going, all right, let's pick it up again. But Bush will pop out, Seiya strikes out. Cody Bellinger will walk, but Nico Horner will pop up to end the inning. And then here's the name again, Connor Norby. He's going to hit a home run on a fly. You can't get any hotter than this guy. He homers, and the Cubs are down 1-0. One batter later, Jesus Sanchez will homer to make it 2-0 Marlin. Jonah Bride is going to double before Assad finally gets out of the inning without giving up any more runs. Now, the Cubs are going to come back in the 2nd. Dansby Swanson doubles. Pete Crow Armstrong's going to fly out, but Dansby steals 3rd. Patrick Wisdom's going to strike out on a foul tip, but then Christian Bethancourt, guy keeps hitting. He singles on a line drive to right fielder. Jesus Sanchez, Dansby scores. Now the Cubs are only down 2-1. No problem there. And so as we're kind of moving along in this game, you're waiting for the Cubs to do something. Unfortunately, the Marlins are going to strike again in the 3rd. Here's that name again. Connor Norby doubles. Jake Berger flies out. Connor Norby moves to 3rd. Jesus Sanchez grounds out, and it's going to be 3-1 to the Marlins. And then all of a sudden, you know, the Cubs seem to have a lot of chances, and they just went cold after the 3rd a little bit. They went down 1-2-3 in the 3rd inning, or in the 4th inning. In the 4th, they went 1-2-3. And so you're letting this kid absolutely just kill you here. The Cubs were able to get Nico Horner at 2nd with 2 outs, but couldn't do anything there. And then, you know, there was some weird stuff that happened too. Patrick Wisdom argued calling balls and strikes in the 4th. It didn't seem like it was anything.
Yeah, what was that about? I mean, come on.
I don't know. That was the ump show right there. That was a hair quick trigger on that one. That was too much.
I hate that.
Yeah, just let the guy stay at, you know, top of the 7th. Once again, Isaac Paredes 1 out. He walks. Mike Tauchman walks. He got runners at 1st and 2nd. Ian Happ strikes out, and Michael Bush grounds out. There goes that threat. And so when you take a look at Javier Assad, it started out bad. He gave up 2 runs in the 1st, but at the end, he went deeper than he's gone all season. He went 7 innings pitch, gave up 3 runs on 6 hits, but 2 of those runs came off home runs in the 1st inning, 1 walk, 3 Ks. So it's a quality start for Javier Assad, and you're going to take that every day of the week from your 4th or 5th starter. You take 7 innings and 3 runs all the time. And so Julian Merriweather comes in the 8th to replace Assad. Connor Norby, again, singles. Jake Berger doubles, runners at 2nd and 3rd. And so they decide to intentionally walk Jesus Sanchez. And this is when you know something weird happens. because Pat Hughes, the Hall of Famer on 670 The Score, said he's never seen this before. Jesus Sanchez is intentionally walked. Again, this is still a 3-1 game, Dustin. This is still a close game. And so they call for the pinch runner, Christian Pesci, and Jesus Sanchez doesn't step on first. So Craig Counsell tells the pitcher to throw it to first, and he ends up getting the out. So a very, very bizarre play. Never have I seen a guy, and neither has Pat Hughes, been intentionally walked and then called out.
Yeah.
So
that's odd.
Now that, Dustin, was the second out. So you got 2 outs, runners at second, third. Jonah Bride's going to sack fly to make it 4-1. Otto Lopez will double to make it 5-1. Kyle Stowers is going to double to make it 6-1. Derek Hill singles to make it 7-1 before Vidal Brujan flies out to end the inning. But for Julian Merriweather, brutal. 1 inning, gave up 4 runs on 5 hits, 1 walk. It could have been worse if Jesus Sanchez just would have stepped on first. But that was just absolutely awful. And once again, runners in scoring position for the Cubs. You ended up 2 for 12, Dustin. 2 for 12 with runners in scoring position, and you left 9 on base. And maybe Merriweather doesn't come in if you got a couple of those in, if it's a tie game or if you got a lead, right?
Right. Absolutely right. Yep, you're right about that. Yeah, not a great outing by Merriweather, no doubt. But again, the whole series, I mean, considering where they were with runners in scoring position, it's amazing that they end up taking 2 out of 3, right? I mean,
right. And so they talked to Craig Counsell after the game about what happened. Here's what Craig had to say.
I mean, they jumped on him in the first inning, took some good swings, but you get 7 innings from your starter and 3 runs. That's a very good outing. Offensively, we had a bad day offensively. I mean, we didn't do much. Aller kind of just beat us a little bit with the fastball. He got it by us, or kind of weak balls in the air. We didn't miss out on anything with hard hit balls today. They just kind of beat us with the fastball and just didn't have a good day with an offense at all.
How many times have we heard that, Dustin?
Yeah, you could just play that like on a loop, right?
Yeah, I mean, you could just play it on an audio loop. You could keep going with it, and needless to say, it is absolutely just. I want somebody to say, "Hey, Craig, why? Why do you keep having bad days?" And right. Dustin, this is what I mean by that. We've all seen it with the.
That's baseball, Crawly. That's baseball.
We've all seen it though, but this is from my friend Mike Waller. He put this up here. He said, today was the 42nd time the Cubs have scored fewer than 3 runs this season. In those games, the Cubs are 3-39, Dustin, 3-39. And so that to me, why does this keep happening? And I said it when I made my predictions last week. One of these guys is just going to have a game. Adam Aller just beat us today. Those words should never come out of your mouth. Adam Aller just beat you today. He sucks. I'm sorry. Why in the heck can you not score runs off? It's a guy that's just basically, like I said, just a journeyman. And again, 2 out of 3 is great, but you're at a point now where you just have to keep winning games. And again, we're going to preview the series against Pittsburgh, and you tell me, oh, the Cubs offense was shut down by Mitch Keller. Oh, the Cubs offense was shut down by Paul Skeens. That happens. I don't have a problem with it. That happens. They're great pitchers. Adam Aller doesn't qualify as a great pitcher. How do you not score runs against this guy?
Right. Yep. You have to do it, right? Yep. Mm-hmm.
The offense just disappears from time to time and just looks like a shell of themselves, like uncompetitive at bats. And that's what I just don't get. And I should be happy. They won 2 out of 3. Saturday was a blast. Why they just couldn't finish it? Like I said, I think we're just going to look back at the end of September and just say, because of games like this where you couldn't beat Adam Aller. That's where it all comes down to.
Yeah, you can say this is one of those you can definitely circle on your Cubs calendar if you're into that kind of thing, following along where things went good and where things went bad. This is the Fly the W670 podcast. It is episode 69 of season number 3. No sweep for the Cubs. Don't forget to listen, download, review, and subscribe to the Fly the W podcast. Leave us one of those 5-star reviews. You can email Crawly and I, flythew670@gmail.com. Don't forget you can watch us on the 670 The Score YouTube page. In this segment, Rich Biesterfeld from Northside Bound talks to us about all the action in Arizona at the Arizona Complex League and the Bridge Camp, where many familiar names are working out to get ready for the 2025 Cubs season.
Joining me now on the Fly the W podcast, we have our old friend from Northside Bound, Rich Biesterfeld, to give us some dispatch from the desert. Rich, we were talking earlier. How many days in a row have you guys been over 100?
Oh boy, I know it's over 90 now. So I think the average temperature for today now is like around 105. So that's the average for what's today, the 26th or whatever. So it's part of living in the desert.
Speaking of living in the desert, it's we've talked before and we've had you on many times. Arizona, the Cubs, Sloan Park is not just a place, how it used to be with Hohokam, where it would be like, oh, okay, we'll play some spring training games. It is constantly year-round going on. And I know we got Labor Day coming up next week in September, and that has to mean the Arizona Fall League's coming up. But you have been taking a lot of pictures, and it seems like there's been a lot of action. And our listeners can go to your Twitter at Beast22. And you're talking a lot about the ACL Bridge Camp. Tell our listeners a little bit about what that means, ACL Bridge Camp.
Okay. So during the summer, you've got the ACL stands for Arizona Complex League, not the dreaded ACL injury that sometimes people think of when they hear that. But during the summer, that's where you're getting a lot of the guys, younger players, a lot of guys who have played in the Dominican Summer League as well. It's kind of like the next step after the Dominican Summer League, and plus some of the draft picks, especially some of like the high school guys might be here a year. Sometimes they're here 2 years. But that they switched it up this year. It started earlier and ended earlier. And so now we're in what we call like the bridge camp part of it. So these games aren't official. So you don't see any official records except Arizona Phil, for your listeners if they're familiar with Phil.
At Cubs reporter.
Stats. Exactly. And there's, in some ways it makes it interesting because you can, like, if a pitcher is getting hammered, they can just say roll the inning and they can stop it. Because they've got a number of pitches they want to see. Because it's informal like that, if you've got a guy who's like on an injury rehab and they want him to get more at bats, they can just have them bat, like sometimes you'll see the same guy bat second every inning for the team because they just want him to get at bats and see what they're playing. So they're playing a game, but the rules are much more loose, and so that frees things up to get in the work that they need to do.
Right. And so I'm taking a look here, and you were one of the first to kind of pick this up here. Good friend of the pod. He was at Club 400 for the Christmas party one year. Brennan Davis coming back. Tell us a little bit about what was happening with Brennan.
Oh, that was a shocker. This time of year, with it being as hot, I don't always get out there to just see what's going on around camp, but they've been playing a few more day games, so a lot of times I'll go out and see, and I've seen like the rehab group. So I've seen like Nick Madrigal out running the bases, or Ben Cowles, who is one of the guys acquired in the Mark Whiter deal, but who had a broken hand. So I've seen a lot of those guys, and you see guys kind of taking progress. Like I've seen Hayden Wesneski throwing several bullpens. So Hayden may be getting close. So you kind of see the progression a lot of times leading up to that. Well, the week before, I saw I saw Brennan standing in the one time while somebody was throwing batting practice, but he wasn't swinging. He was just kind of being that guy in the box to give a pitcher more or less that feel of like throwing in a real game where there's a batter in the box. But I didn't really think anything of it. And then last Tuesday, all of a sudden, I see Brennan walking in uniform, and it's like, wait a second, if he's in uniform, that means he's probably playing, and he did.
And then you saw him put one out, right?
Yesterday, yeah. So he played Tuesday and Saturday. The Thursday game got canceled for some reason, but so I think he's had 4 official at bats, just the one hit, but it was a home run. But even the other 3 outs, really good contact, all well struck balls to the outfield. So he's getting some lift in it, and the swing has looked really good.
And you talk about some of the guys that are there for rehab. You mentioned Nick Magical, and he's wearing the End ALS shirt, which is cool because you got that at Wrigley. Thomas Nito, people are going to forget Thomas Nito, still on the team, right? Still doing his rehab. And then Alexander Canario, hopefully I just felt like they never really gave him a good look this year. I don't know sometimes why that happens. It's frustrating, but it's kind of been an up and down season for him. You mentioned, Brennan Davis looking good and seeing Nick Magical run the bases, but I looked at your Twitter the other day and I was going, it's Ben Brown, but he's just walking around. He's not throwing. I'm like, come on, buddy. How does he look? How's he doing? Are you hearing anything? You had a chance to find anything out about him?
Yeah, that was the first time I saw Ben. That's why I had to post the picture because I hadn't seen him in a while. Just what most of the beat writers have said was his neck is still bothering him. I don't know that he's throwing yet. But it was good to see him. It was good to see him out on the field because I think we as fans we can get caught up in the, oh my gosh, we want this guy back, we want him on the field, and that's totally normal. But at the end of the day, I think it's always important to remember too, this is a person, they're dealing with their physical health and how challenging that can be. So, and from what I know of Ben, he's such a good competitor and he wants to be out there. So I'm sure he'd much rather be playing.
Probably one of the nicest kids I've ever interviewed. Just so humble, and you saw the flashes of what he can do. And so I think, people sometimes forget that the development's not linear and they're going to have these bumps in the road. I still people go up giving up on Brennan Davis. And I'm like, what is he, 22, 23? I'm like, plenty of time for him to do it. He just, he does got to get healthy, but these guys want to compete. They want to get back, as quick as they can, but they got to look out for their health. Speaking of health, this is a phenomenal story. Ben Leeper. Tell us a little bit about Ben Leeper, and that's a great picture you got of him right here.
Oh, thanks. Oh, Ben. Ben's one of my favorites. Just such a hard worker, good guy. He's had his third Tommy John surgery. I think there's one other person that's come back and pitched in the big leagues, and I always forget who it is, but that has done that. And he stayed in camp. He got a late start to his season, but was working on things. I think he went to Myrtle Beach in South Bend. He's at Double-A now. I think he's thrown well. He had, I think, a little bit of a hiccup the other night when he pitched. I don't remember his exact line, but I thought I saw he had a little bit of a hiccup there. But I always say, I think I said it in my tweet, and I've said as long as I've known Ben, don't bet against that guy. He's a warrior out there. He'll put in whatever the work takes, and if the body will hold up, I can see him pitching in the big leagues.
Oh man, that is just unbelievable. And I'm looking now. It looks like Johnny Venters from the Braves has come back and done after 3 Tommy John surgeries. So I mean, it's happening. Now I don't know if you saw this the other day. They were talking about this idea of kind of trying to make a rule about having a pitcher go 6 innings, right? And the thing that people, that they're talking about, and I don't know if it's true or not. I saw this on Twitter somewhere, so I'm not going to believe everything I see on there. But it was like there's more Tommy John surgeries in 2023 than there were in the decade of the 90s. But you do see guys throwing harder with more spin and all that stuff. I'm looking at the proposal as how to get, I think you lose your DH if your pitcher doesn't go 6 innings and all of these things. And I've heard people both like it, dislike it. Obviously something like that's going to take time to ramp it up because none of these guys are really used to kind of doing that. But I mean, what are your thoughts on, to potentially try to figure out a way to keep these guys' arms in better shape and as far as their health is concerned?
Yeah. I didn't see that stat that you mentioned, but I can believe it because it seems like most of the pitchers on a staff have had Tommy John, or it seems like close to half on those staff have. I think guys are throwing harder. You've also got the pitch clock now, so there's not the rest period between. I don't know. I didn't have a chance to read all of the write-up because I know there's some people whose opinion I respect said it wasn't a bad proposal. But I haven't dug into it enough. It's just, I know my initial reaction was not real positive though. I'm just, as you said, I'm worried about, with all the changes they're trying to make, while it sounds like a good idea, I don't want to see, your ace type guys, getting hurt because, they have to throw one more inning because it's a rule. Um, I also feel like in some ways, does it eliminate some of the strategy of, that's why you pay a manager to make those decisions.
Right. It's trying to figure this out and trying to keep guys on the field and healthy, because
Yeah.
obviously the game is better when you got a Jacob deGrom or something in there
Yeah.
being able to play. And it's just, how do you, de-incentivize throwing harder and with more spin? It's like,
Right.
it's almost impossible. And I'm just trying to figure it out. I love this picture right here of Ronnie Cruz that you took. This is third round draft pick, correct?
Yep. Yes.
And so you get to see these guys as they're kind of coming in and playing. And how many of them would you say, when the draft is done and then that happens right around the All-Star game and all of that, how many of those guys go into the Arizona Complex League? How many are still in the Bridge League, and how many get assignments? So when just kind of roughly feeling when you're going through that.
Yeah, I think a big factor in that too is if they were college or high school. So a lot of the college guys have like played a couple games, like Cam Smith, Edgar Alvarez, Ariel Armas. Although Ariel didn't actually play out here in any games, he just went straight to South Bend. So the college guys a lot of times are the ones that are going to move up quickly. The pitchers, it kind of depends how much they've thrown this year. And I think they want to be careful with the number of innings they've thrown. Like Charlie Hurley, who is an undrafted free agent, he's thrown a couple times now, and so has Braden Reisdorf. But I know at least like with Charlie, he was playing, I want to say like in the Cape Cod League this summer. So he was still kind of ramped up. So he didn't have that big of a break. But a couple other guys like Hayden Frank, Christian Gordon, those guys both have thrown in some games now. I've seen, who was the other one? I know I've seen like Brooks Capel throwing, just playing catch, and then Aschenbach I've seen throwing a bullpen, but those two guys haven't been in a game yet. I know I was messaging a little bit with Matt Hallback. It sounds like he's a little banged up. I saw him working out with the rehab group, like running some sprints and stuff the other day, and because he was joking with me, I sent him a couple photos I had shot of him, and he said he wasn't expecting to get photos while he was in rehab. So he appreciated it.
Well, I mean, so when you talk about these Arizona Complex Leagues, the bridge games and stuff like that, are they played mostly on the backfields, or are they played in Sloan Park?
So the home games are being played in Sloan Park. It's kind of up to each team, but a lot of the other ones, like the Rockies, the D-backs, the Giants, they're all playing on more of their backfields. But the Cubs are at least playing in Sloan, which is kind of nice.
And anybody could then just go in and check out the game, correct? Like if you're in the Arizona area right now and you're kind of around there, you could say, hey, just check out a game. Like, they advertise these games as far as like, hey, this is happening, or is it just kind of more you got to be in the know?
Kind of got to be in the know. They play 3 games a week, normally like Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. Saturday games are almost always at 11 o'clock. Tuesdays and Thursdays, some are day games, some are night games. It just kind of depends on the teams involved. But yeah, the attendance, it's usually, if you're getting 10 or 15 people, that's a big crowd. A lot of times it's more family of players if they happen to be out there, things like that.
And can I get a food? I know I can't get a beer bat, but can I get a nice cold one and a hot dog?
There are no services. You should just be happy that they have the restrooms unlocked.
Well, Rich, it's every time when I talk to you, it just brings me back to Arizona and Sloan Park and all the guys and gals out there that we've gotten to know over the years. And it's making me miss it more and more and more. As much as fun as it is at Wrigley, there's always something special about Arizona, and whether it's the Arizona Complex League, the Fall League, spring training, all that stuff. We're glad that you're out there and always kind of giving us, the behind the scenes look at what's going on. Can you tell our listeners, Rich, where they can find your photos and where they can find your work on the socials?
Sure. My Twitter and Instagram handle are Biest22, BIEST22. And I also do a lot of stuff with the fellows at Northside Bound. So we're out there trying to produce content and covering the minor leagues, especially.
And it's been a fun time. The system is so interesting, so deep, and it seems like player development is really something that they're working on. So that's why I always love looking at your work, because it gives me an idea of who's coming, who I should know before they start to become a name. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's fun. It's fun being able to see that progress. And when you see a guy make like their debut at Wrigley Field, that you've already kind of aware of them and know a little bit about them. I think that's a really fun part of it. And I think that's one of the things we try and do at Northside Bound is, provide that coverage. So it's not like a new guy when, when Jack Neely comes up, you've already had a chance to read a little bit about him, or when, Cam Smith, who was the #1 draft pick. And it was just announced tonight that he's getting moved up. So it's fun stories to watch.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Rich, for jumping on, and we'll see you soon, buddy.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me on, Crawly.
This is season 3, episode 69 of the Fly the W670 podcast. Still no sweep for the Cubs. Don't forget to leave us one of those 5-star reviews. You can download, review, and subscribe to the Fly the W podcast. We would thank you for that. And you can also email us at flythew670@gmail.com and watch us. That's right. You can watch Crawly and I do this on the 670 The Score YouTube page. All right, Crawly. So the standings are pretty similar. The Cubs are still, 5.5 out of that third wild card spot?
Yep. Milwaukee in first place, followed by the Cubs, the Cardinals at second place, the Cubs in third place by half a game, Cincinnati 2 games behind them, and the upcoming Pirates 2.5 games behind the Cubs here. When you look at the wild card, again, this is why today was so frustrating, Dustin. We're recording this on Sunday. The Braves lost. Okay. And so the Mets, the Giants, and the Cardinals just leapfrogged you. The Mets, Giants, and Mets were all there. So if you wanted to stay even, you could have done that, and you could have gained a game on the third place wild card spot with the Braves. And again, you blew it. So just looking here, everybody's kind of in this, the Braves, the Mets, and the Cubs are all 6-4 in their last 10, while the Giants and Braves are 5-5. But Dustin, like we said, if you could have put a streak together and gone 8-2, well, that just changes everything. Completely changes the way it looks.
Right. So we're gonna talk about it in a second. They're gonna play the Pirates soon, so they can try to put them in the rearview mirror as far as this wild card series goes. So that's the standings. Now let's talk a little bit about some roster moves, and one of everybody's favorites, David Bote, got DFA'd.
Yeah, Cubs claimed.
Kind of surprised by that, right? I don't know. Last time Luis Vasquez got up here, he barely saw the field.
Right. This really comes down more to 40-man roster spots, and you may see more of this, especially if the Cubs do start to fall out. You could see that happen to Drew Smyly. You could see it happen to Patrick Wisdom, all of these things. You saw it happen to Hector Neris. So you're looking to give guys an opportunity to play, young guys. And so the Cubs claimed right-handed pitcher Gavin Hollowell off waivers from the D-backs, optioned him to AAA. David Bote DFA'd an infielder. Luis Vasquez takes his place. Bote had been with the Cubs for 13 years, played on the big league team from 2018 to 2022 before injuries really affected his career. Called up again this season, but he will always be remembered for the ultimate slam. Dustin, did you know that was even such a thing, that there is a term, ultimate slam?
I did not know.
August 12th, 2018. I had no idea this existed until I was driving home listening to 670 Score post game, and they explained it. An ultimate slam is when you are down in the 9th inning, 3-0. It has to be that exact score, and the grand slam walks it off 4-3. So that's an ultimate slam. And
that's cool. That's a cool stat. Yeah.
Yeah. I was at the game, and honestly, it's probably one of the loudest and the most that Wrigley Field has ever shook in a regular season game, in my opinion.
Yeah. Pretty cool. Yeah. Nobody will ever forget that moment. No doubt about it, that he's always going to be remembered for that one. How about Cam Smith? Little news on him.
Yep, Cubs first-round draft pick, drafted overall, 14th by the Cubs. He has broken a franchise record. He has hit a home run in 6 consecutive games. And I don't care if you're in Myrtle Beach or Iowa or even on the Cubs. To hit 6 consecutive home runs in 6 consecutive games is something. That's really impressive.
Yeah, very impressive. No doubt. No doubt. That is an impressive stat. You can't be like, oh, well, no. no matter where you do it. And, listen, wiffle ball, anywhere.
Right.
Big
If
deal.
you told me a kid did that in high school ball, I'd be impressed.
Right. Absolutely right. So good for him. All right. Cubs, Pirates, big 3-game set. Early game on Wednesday, like 11:35, I think, a first pitch. Perfect when you get up at 2:30 in the morning, but I don't know a whole lot of people are going to get to see that one. But let's talk Cubs, Pirates.
Yep, Pirates have struggled out of the gates this season. They went 14-17 in April, 12-4 in May, but they played stronger in the summer, 14-12 in June, and 15-10 in July before hitting the skids in August. This month, they're 7-15. They're currently in last place in the NL Central with a 62-68 record. The Pirates did add to their team during the trade deadline. We haven't seen them in a while. We haven't seen them since May. So they picked up Isaiah Keener-Falefa from the Blue Jays, Brian De La Cruz from the Marlins, couple of left-handed relievers. The Pirates lead the season series versus the Cubs 4-3. Dustin, sometimes I like this, playing all other 29 teams, but this is where it bothers me. The Cubs have not played the Pirates since the first couple of weeks of May.
Yeah, it's weird.
And they faced them a week apart. And so the first series was in the beginning of May. Pittsburgh took 2 out of 3. They did lose. That was in Pittsburgh. And they lost in Paul Skeen's major league debut. They took the series in extra innings in the rubber game. So they won that first series in Pittsburgh. But the Pirates came to Wrigley a week later, and the Cubs lost 3 out of 4 games. And that was the beginning of the Cubs' 2024 tailspin. The Cubs lost game 1 5-2. They got crushed in game 2 9-3. They won the third game thanks to 7 shutout innings from Shota Imanaga and a 9th inning walk-off single by Christopher Morel before losing the finale 3-2. And so what ends up happening that week that they lost the series to the Pirates, they lost to the Braves a series before then. Then they lost this series to the Pirates, and then they lost 9 out of 10 series. The only one they won was against the White Sox. So the Pirates just finished a 4-game series with the Cincinnati Reds, taking 3 of 4, beating the Reds 7-0 on Thursday, 6-5 on Friday. They lost Saturday 10-2 before taking the series today, 4-3. So a couple 1-run games and a couple blowout games in that 4-game series.
All right, very good. So now let's get into the particulars. Is it time for the tail of the tape?
It is time for the tail of the tape.
Here we go.
Look here, you are going to see a lot of similarities in the team as far as batting average. The edge slightly goes to the Cubs. Cubs have a .236 batting average, 22nd in baseball, while the Pirates are 23rd with .234, so they're pretty much even. When it comes to slug, the Pirates are out slugging the Cubs. They are slugging 370, and the Cubs are at 289, so they're 11th, so a little bit different there. And then runners in scoring position. This is why both of these teams are where they are.
Yep.
Pirates are a little slightly better, .227, 26 in baseball, while the Cubs are .226, 27th in baseball. So they're right next to each other in that. How about this? Starting pitcher ERA, Dustin, they're the exact same, 3.78.
That's crazy. Yeah, even.
So they're almost dead even in our hitting with runners in scoring position, almost dead even in batting average, and almost dead even in starting pitching ERA. Reliever, that's where the Cubs have the advantage in reliever ERA. Cubs are 8th with 3.65, while the Pirates are 4.17, 22nd in baseball. While fielding, the Cubs are a much better fielding team. They have 15 defensive run saves, 16th in baseball, versus -8 for the Pirates, which is 24th in all baseball.
All right, so let's get to game number 1 tomorrow night, Monday night.
5:40 p.m.
podcast,
start.
right? You gotta like that early. Yeah. Nice. Okay.
And I'm thinking, God, Dustin's got to be so happy. J-Mo's on the mound, 8-8 with a 3.77 ERA in 22 games with 101 strikeouts and 126 2/3 innings. Unfortunately, August has been a struggle. He's 1-2 with a 5.73 ERA, and he's given up 5 home runs in 4 games. In his last 3 starts, he gave up 5 runs against the White Sox, 4 runs against the Guardians, 4 runs against Detroit. So he has been struggling with the AL Central. Tyone has faced the Pirates once this season, taking the loss, giving up 3 runs on 6 hits and 4 2/3 innings. J-Mo is 1-2 lifetime against the Buccos with a 6.19 ERA in 3 starts. None of the current Pirates have more than 2 at-bats against Jameson, and they're all 0-2, so not a lot of at-bats against them.
Yeah.
Mitch Keller's 11-7 with the 3.76 ERA in 25 games with 134 strikeouts in 148 and a third innings. Keller's had a couple of bumpy starts in August, giving up 7 runs in 4 innings against the Dodgers on April 9th and 8 runs in 5 innings against the Padres on April 14th before having a bounce back start in his last outing against the Texans, pitching 7 innings of shutout ball. Keller has faced the Cubs once this season, picking up the win, giving up 2 runs in 6 innings. Keller's 5-4 with a 4.78 ERA in 12 games against the Cubs in his lifetime. 11 of those were starts. Cubs have seen plenty of Keller. Ian Happ is 9 for 25. Dansby Swanson 4 for 13. Cody Bellinger 4 for 11. Keller features a 4-seam fastball, sinker, sweeper, and cutter.
Very good. Game number 2, also 5:40.
Justin Steele versus the legendary TBD. Justin Steele 4-5 with a 3.07 ERA and 21 games started, 125 strikeouts, 123 innings. I don't know if you heard Bruce Levine. He was talking to Justin Steele after his last start, and he's, Bruce Levine says the best 4-game winner in all of baseball. This guy has pitched so good to only have 4 wins. Steele has been doing really good in the month of August. He is 2-0 with a 1.66 ERA in 4 games started. He hasn't given up more than 2 runs in his last 4 starts. Steele has faced the Pirates twice this season. On May 11th, he got a no decision, lasting only 4 innings. He gave up 6 runs on 6 hits and 3 home runs. I want to say that's right when he came back from his stint off the IL, and that was the Paul Skeens debut, and it was a really crazy game. On May 16th, he got the loss. He gave up 5 runs on 6 hits in 5 2/3 innings. Justin is 1-3 against the Pirates lifetime in 8 games. 7 of those starts with a 6.44 ERA. Only 2 players on the Pirates have any at-bats against Steele. Nick Fortes and Jesus Sanchez each have 1 at-bat against Steele, so they won't have. But, again, they haven't seen him much, but we don't know who the Cubs are facing. So we can't say if the Cubs have seen that person a lot or not.
Right. Hard to guess, right? Hard to speculate when it's the old TBD. All right, let's move into the final game. 11:35 a.m. Kyle Hendricks, Paul Skeens. What a match!
Kyle Hendricks, 3-10, 633 in 23 games. 18 of those started with 67 strikeouts in 101 innings pitched. Kyle will give you 6 innings. He'll give up a few runs. And then, that's usually what we see in his last start in Miami. We saw this weekend, Kyle went 4 2/3, gave up 3 runs on 7 hits, 2 walks, and no strikeouts. Kyle's faced the Pirates twice this season, getting a no decision on May 12th, went 5 innings, gave up 1 run. He faced them a week later on May 17th, taking the loss, gave up 8 in 4 2/3 innings. Kyle is 9-14 lifetime with a 4.38 ERA and 8 games started versus the Pirates. A lot of the Buccos have seen Kyle before. Brian Reynolds, 7 for 36. Yasmani Grandal is 5 for 25. And Rowdy Tellez is 6 for 20. The Cubs are going to have their work cut out for them.
Yeah, good old Rowdy.
Paul Skeens, 8-2 with a 2.16 ERA in 17 games started with a whopping 130 strikeouts in 104 innings pitched. He represented Pittsburgh in the All-Star game. He made his major league debut versus the Cubs on May 11th, got the no decision, giving up 3 runs on 6 hits and 4 innings pitched. But it was his next start against the Cubs at Wrigley that turned people's heads. He pitched 6 innings of no-hit ball with 11 strikeouts. Now, his pitch count got up there, but 6 innings of no-hit ball. In his 17 starts, Dustin, the only time he's given up more than 2 runs was his debut against the Cubs. He gave up 3, and twice against the Dodgers, they tagged him for more than 2 runs. That's it. Only 3 Cubs have hits against Skeens. Nico 1 for 1, Suzuki 1 for 3, and Talkman 1 for 6. Skeen features a fastball that averages 99 miles per hour. He also throws a sinker, a slider, and a curveball.
Skeen's really going to be tough, right? I mean, that's a tough matchup for the Cubs. All right, who's hot? Who's not? I know who is hot for sure. PCA after that inside the park home run. Seiya Suzuki a couple of bombs. Who else is on the hot part for the Cubs?
Miguel Amaya is the hottest of the hottest.
Yep,
8 out of his